Hello, I'm Robin Smith, relationship coach and certified in developmental trauma, yoga instructor, and founder of Conscious Thriving Relationships. And I want to talk about humility in our relationships today because it's been a huge game changer for me in all of my relationships. So we're going to look at what humility is and why it's important in your relationships, what gets in the way of humility, and then some suggestions for how to practice it. So what is humility in relationships? Uh, we have a definition in humility that has something to do with religion often, and it relates to kind of lowering yourself in relationship to others. And while that's a little bit similar to what I'm talking about today, it's not quite the same thing. So when I say humility in relationships, what I'm really referring to is a quality of receptivity and openness. It's a willingness to learn and to not be the center of attention and to not be right. So when I think of humility, it's like the opposite of kind of narrow-minded and being direct, and it's more like expansive and open. So consider that for a moment, what that feels like to you when you open yourself to other people instead of kind of putting yourself first, needing to be the center of attention or to have all the answers. So why it's important in your relationships is that when we're in that mode of needing to be the center, needing to be right, prioritizing being right over having harmony, what happens is that we don't have harmony. We don't get the connection that most of us are seeking. Instead, what we get is disconnection or separation from other people. Because putting yourself first and needing to win the game or the battle, needing to win the power struggle, what actually happens is you get a power struggle most of the time, unless someone else acquiesces. But often both people are committed to being right, and that's when there's a power struggle for sure. So if you want to avoid power struggles and arguments, humility is going to be essential. And it's also just a wonderful quality to cultivate for creating more expansiveness, like I was saying, and openness and connection with other people. It's a great way to understand other people, and we'll look at how to do that in a moment. So humility, why it's important, I think I've just explained. And now let's look at what gets in the way of humility. Well, I've just suggested some of those things, that commitment to being right, that needing to have all the answers, that putting yourself in the center. But let's look at a little bit why some of that might be happening. Now, a lot of that's based in ego. It's our ego's kind of need to kind of be the center, right? And all of us have an ego, and it's important to have a healthy ego. And it's the ego's job to protect itself. It's the ego's job to kind of self-preserve. It's about safety. It's about getting your needs met. So that's important, and we can't not have an ego, at least 99.9% of us. But when the ego is a driving force in your relationships, that's when you're more likely to have conflict and disconnection. So let's come back to why that ego might be so kind of up front and center, why you're kind of so committed to being right or needing to have those answers or be the center of attention. I know for me and for a lot of the clients that I've helped, it's because there is actually low self-esteem. So when we have low self-esteem, we feel unworthy. We feel like we're not enough. We have stories like nobody likes us, or I'm not lovable, or I'm not smart enough, or cute enough, or attractive enough, or successful enough. And all those negative beliefs then become a drive to push ourselves. When we feel less than, then what we do is we try to get more than. So we pressure ourselves to succeed, to get liked, to do what we think it's going to take to get the attention that we're really craving. So that might look like perfectionism, like trying to be the prettiest or the smartest or the richest, or have the nicest car or the best body. It might look like trying to always get the best grades and pushing yourself, working overtime, studying super hard, limiting your diet, all those things that you might do to excel in the ways you think are important to get that attention that you're craving. And of course, the problem with that is that it's not sustainable. You can easily burn yourself out by trying to be something that's not just happening naturally. It's not really who you are. And when you do that, you're being inauthentic. And so the problem with that, not only is it not sustainable or you could burn out, but you're likely then to have relationships that aren't authentic because they're built on this caricature, this ego, this personality that you have been crafting to get, what you think you need. So when you come to a place of greater self-esteem, greater self-love, you like yourself, you're more confident, which can happen over time. And I definitely could teach you how to do that. Let me know if that interests you. But when that happens for you, like it did for me several years ago, there's a shift and you no longer have to work so hard and try so hard to impress people or to prove that you're good enough or to prove that you're right. And so when you have greater self-esteem, you are less likely to, let's say, let me flip that. You're more likely to be humble, right? Because you're more relaxed with yourself. So you're more able to be in that position of openness, like I was saying, and receptivity, less needing to put yourself first and rise above and, be the star and that type of thing. So hopefully that's making sense. So we've talked about why humility is important in your relationships, what might get in the way of humility, and now let's look at how to practice humility in your relationships. I love the example of driving in a car with somebody. Say, there's one driver and there's another person in the front seat, in the passenger seat, and say that you both have you think the right way to get somewhere, the directions, the right journey to take. And say you're both committed to being right. Well, what's going to happen? That power struggle, right? I'm right. No, I'm right. This is the way. No, that's the way. So you're not going to get anywhere if you're both super committed to being right because you're not going to be receptive to the other. So to flip that and to practice humility would be to be open to the other person's way. So it might be, say if you're the driver and you're like, I know how to get us there. Instead, you would say, well, what's your way? I'm curious. Tell me about it. And so it would be one, that openness to another way. Two, you might ask questions like, why do you like that way? What's the best part about it for you? Another thing you might do is say you used your way and it wasn't the best way. You ended up in traffic or you ended up in the wrong location, would be to practice recognizing you made a mistake. So part of humility is admitting your mistakes. You might say, you know what, I thought I had the right way and I clearly didn't. So I apologize. So apologizing is another great aspect or practice of humility, to let the other know that, you're not right and you realize it. It's humbling yourself or putting yourself lower, like that other definition. So those are a few practices. Another one might be to open your posture, right? Because as I talked about, if you're in that narrow position, like this is the way and I know I've got it and this is the only way and I'm the best, then it creates contraction and a feeling of tension inside your body. It's also going to create kind of a closed feeling for others, because if you're all like, this is it and there's nothing else, then it doesn't leave room for anybody else to have their perspective or their opinion or their experience. So the opposite of this then is that openness. So when you're in a closed posture or you're feeling an inner tension inside, if you simply open your posture, which might be uncrossing your arms or moving your hands off your hips, it might be uncrossing your legs, then that's going to show people that you are more receptive. They're going to feel more able to share and a willingness to share with you. So that's several things, which might be, again, opening your posture. It might be simply being open to learning from somebody else. It might be asking them curious questions or admitting your mistakes or apologizing. So there's our 5 different practices to get you started in bringing humility into your relationships. And what I think you're going to find is that as you kind of take yourself off the pedestal and take yourself out of that commitment to having the right way, other people are going to feel more receptive to you. They're going to feel more like you're approachable, you're contactable, because there's now, like I said, some space for them. You're going to have less arguing, more connection, more intimacy and closeness. So I do hope you give that a try. It's totally transformed my relationships. Not that I'm all the way there. I find myself still wanting to be right, but the soonest you can let go of that position of I'm right and maybe I'm not right, maybe there is a better way, the sooner you will feel more connected to others. So let me know if you have any questions. Feel free to reach out to me at Robin with a Y at consciousthrivingrelationships.com. I'll put that in the text below. Like this video, subscribe to my channel. I'm doing weekly videos now around relationships and healthy communication. So make sure to get notifications so you will get notified when a new one comes out. And if you'd like my free guide to what I call the 3-step plan to the biggest relationship mistakes, where I give you more super simple practices, it's a short guide, not too much to read, then I'll leave the link below, and I'll tell you now, which is consciousthrivingrelationships.com/home is the site where you can go to get that guide and learn more simple methods that you can use to get the kind of connection that you're craving. Thank you so much for watching me. Follow me on Instagram, find me on Facebook, and I hope to see you here again soon. Namaste.